your big showdown meant you could walk out a champion or walk out bald. That is not a metaphor, honey. That is literal stakes, and I am obsessed. All right, let's get into it. I'm Emma, and I am buzzing, like high-key buzzing, because today we are spilling the tea on AEW Double or Nothing 2026. So, quick primer, AEW or All Elite Wrestling is a major wrestling promotion that lives for big spectacle and ongoing TV dramas. Double or Nothing is one of their annual tentpole shows, kind of their big casino-flavored gala, and in 2026 it hit Queens, New York for the first time ever at Louis Armstrong Stadium. Same gambling vibe, new skyline, total vibe. And the hook this year, the main event was a title versus hair match. Yes, a world title on one side, your hairline on the other. Risk it all or go home. Honestly, iconic. Let me set the scene with a story, because I so cannot resist a good kismet moment. A while back, I'm at this indie concert. I'm in my feel-good era, oversized tee, glitter liner, living. My friend goes, "Hey, if your favorite track drops, you have to dye your hair teal." I'm like, "No, but I have brunch tomorrow." He goes, "Double or Nothing, babe. If they do not play it, he covers all our merch. If they do, I go full mermaid." 2 songs later, that opening riff hits and I just freeze. I can literally feel my bangs negotiating a plea deal. The crowd goes nuts, I'm screaming, and the next day I'm in a salon at 9 a.m. looking like a sea goddess who just discovered espresso. Terrifying in the moment, absolute slay afterward. That is the thrill of a wager. The adrenaline makes the memory stick. And that, babes, is why Double or Nothing worked this year. The whole show leaned into risk and reward. We are not just watching athletes, we are watching bets pay off or backfire. It is Vegas brain in a New York body, and the aesthetic is chef's kiss. Okay, basics for my newbies. Double or Nothing is one of AEW's Big 5 pay-per-views alongside All In, All Out, Full Gear, and Revolution. It drops in late spring, it feeds off storylines from their weekly shows Dynamite and Collision, and it is where feuds get loud and hair sometimes gets shaved. There were a dozen matches in 2026, 3 on the pre-show called the Buy-In. And yes, some recaps quibble about what counts as a match, but AEW's own presentation rides for that 12 number. The pre-show, by the way, was hosted by Renee Paquette, who is AEW's polished backstage interviewer queen, and Mick Foley, who is a WWE Hall of Famer and hardcore legend. Foley signing with AEW just days before and then popping up on the desk was a wild, pleasant shock, total crossover moment. Fans ate it up. Now, let's talk main event energy. MJF, AEW's resident loudmouth mastermind, draped in Burberry and bad decisions, versus Darby Allin, the daredevil skater goth with an underdog soul. These two had heat because back in March, Darby smoked MJF in 2 minutes and change. 4 coffin drops, fastest title win in AEW history. That upset lived rent-free in MJF's head all spring. So when MJF pushed for a rematch, Darby said, "Fine, put your hair on the line." MJF tried to bargain with his iconic scarf. He even waved a fake-out flex with $1 million. But the bet that mattered was the hair. He agreed, they signed, and the stage was set. Title versus hair. Very Double or Nothing. Very public humiliation potential. Big yikes if you lose. When the dust settled at the stadium, MJF beat Darby and took back the AEW World Championship. Bold move paid off. If I were MJF, I would have been touching my hair every 30 seconds like, "Not me, but me, ready to cry." Because losing your hair in front of thousands is not just cosmetic, it is character surgery on live TV. And it was not just the main event delivering chaos. Konosuke Takeshita, a rising powerhouse from Japan known for ridiculous athleticism, beat Kazuchika Okada, who is basically a wrestling demigod, for the AEW International Championship. That is a statement win. It reshapes the mid-card into a main event adjacent playground. Translation, the summer just got spicy. They even opened the night with a New York Street Fight I Quit match, no DQs, and you only win if your opponent literally says I quit. Christian Cage and Adam Copeland, calling themselves Cage and Cope, beat FTR, who are your tag team purists, Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler. Cage and Cope took the AEW tag titles. Had they lost, the team would have been done forever. For an opener, that is extra, but in the best way. Then we got Stadium Stampede, AEW's arena-wide food fight. You know, cameras chasing carnage through concourses and weird corners of the building. Jericho, yes, Chris Jericho reinvented as just Jericho after a year away, led a super team with the Hurt Syndicate and the Elite. Quick roll call. The Hurt Syndicate are Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, veterans with big presence, with MVP floating in the orbit. The Elite are Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, and Jack Perry. Star power stacked to the rafters. They face the Demand, that is Ricochet, Bishop Khan, and Toa Liona, backed by Don Callis family muscle Mark Davis and Andre El Idolo, plus the Dogs, which is Clark Connors and David Finlay. That is a lot of bruisers. Story-wise, Ricochet had gotten under Jericho's skin with pins earlier in spring and even messed with Jack Perry's national title defense, which pulled the Elite into Jericho's camp. Receipts all around. Jericho's squad won the Stampede. Maximum mayhem, maximum payoff. Side note I cannot ignore, Jericho kept bragging about a new contract clause earlier in spring that let him challenge anyone. Cool TV hook, but the exact language was never made public, so take that as story-wine spice, not legal gospel, just saying. Tournament time, the Owen Hart Cup, AEW's annual men's and women's tournament in honor of Owen, ran quarterfinals on this card. We got Samoa Joe, a veteran wrecking ball, versus Will Ospreay, aerial artist extraordinaire. Bandito, the masked high flyer, versus Swerve Strickland's swagger machine. Alex Windsor had a new opponent because Willow Nightingale was injured, and we also got Athena, dominant champion energy, versus Mina Shirakawa, a charismatic star from Japan. Finals land at Forbidden Door in late June, with the winners promised a world title shot at All In late August. Stakes everywhere. Oh, and Kyle Fletcher, a young star from Australia, came back from injury on the show. Fresh returns are like adding espresso to a storyline latte. Suddenly you are awake and ready for rematches.
Production girlies, I see you! The English commentary booth was stacked! Excalibur, your fast-talking encyclopedia, Tony Schiavone, the sentimental glue, Nigel McGuinness, Dry Wit, Jim Ross, the legend, Don Callis, Agent of Chaos, and Taz, Suplex Professor.
Spanish coverage brought Carlos Cabrera, Alvaro Riojas, and Ariel Levy. Multilingual reach because wrestling is a global language with headlocks and hand gestures. And if you stayed home, distribution was wildly generous. Traditional PPV, HBO Max for US South subscribers at a special rate, Prime Video, ThrillerTV.com, YouTube, and outside the US South and Canada, my AEW. Plus watch parties at Dave & Buster's and Tom's Watch Bar. Communal Chaos as a business model, love that for them. Big question time. Should AEW use high-stakes gimmicks like title versus hair a lot, or keep them rare? I am team occasionally. Because, seriously, when everything is extreme, nothing feels extreme. But when you drop a hair match right after a 2-minute title shock in spring, it hits. It says the world title is volatile, and humiliation is on the table. That psychology gets fans leaning forward.
Same with that I Quit hybrid street fight opener. Some people roll their eyes about officiating clarity. Like, how do you even hear someone quit in a brawl? But here's my take. If the performers commit and the finish is decisive, the stip works. The show opened at a 10, and the rest of the card kept the needle pinned.
And shout out again to Mick Foley on the buy-in. Foley is the godfather of high-risk storytelling. The guy made a career out of turning danger into myth. Having him host for AEW is not just nostalgia, it is brand synergy. It quietly says our universe is big enough to honor yesterday while we book tomorrow. That is a pop culture bridge built out of barbed wire and good vibes. So, what lingers after the confetti? 1. MJF is champ again. Hair intact, chest puffed, and now everyone wants his scalp. 2. Tashida beating Okada makes the international title feel like a springboard to main events. 3. The faction war energy from Stadium Stampede means betrayals and receipts will fuel Dynamite and Collision for weeks. That is momentum you cannot fake. Next time we need to talk about how these rivalries shape modern wrestling storytelling. Are factions the new rom-com love triangles? Is the belt chase the hero's journey we keep reinventing? Okay, Jama, we are going there.
So, that's the tea, folks. Until next time, slay those bets, keep your receipts, and stay iconic. Later.